Am I audible? Okay. So, hi all of you. Sorry for the slight delay. I hope the audio is pretty clear. Bit of a technical glitch here. So it's good. All good. Okay. Okay. Great. So let me just take the initial few questions which have been already sent. I will just make use of the minimum little time we have here. I'm getting a few comments saying that the background sound is not okay and all that. Is it that bad? Can't hear. Not okay. It's not clear. Okay. Let me just try to something out of it. It's okay. 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 Chalo. No more time to waste for that. Okay. So okay. I've been given a few questions, share a few questions beforehand. So maybe I'll just take those questions initially, and then instead of making it all India radio performance where it's totally one-sided, I like to have a as interactive as possible. Uh, make it more interesting. So let me just go through the questions which I've already got. Okay. One was how could you pursue your passion of filmmaking along with such a demanding job? Okay, I don't know whether that was the most interesting question you guys wanted to ask. Uh, well, uh, what I felt was for a human being, for an individual, for a person, you need not get confined to whatever profession you choose as your career, as your main career. I'd say, uh, your identity generally gets tagged to one particular job which you take up. Like if you are a doctor, you are expected to behave in a particular way. You are expected to do certain things. If you are a police officer, you're expected to do certain things, and if you're an IS officer, you're expected to do only certain things, not out of the way. You as a person, as an identity, you have a potential to grow into something else, which is not dictated, which is not decided by the job which you do. Your creativity, your individuality, your choices, these are much beyond your regular, job. So as a passion, if you have something in you, like it could be anything. It could not be filmmaking, it could be painting, it could be drawing, whatever. uh, those things have to be pursued irrespective of what job you're taking. So even if you say it's a demanding job, you will find time for your passion. So that's it. uh, the second question was, what kind of responsibility motivates you to be a people-friendly administrator, and how do you feel when people call you bro instead of usual terms of addresses used for a IS officer? Well, uh, you know, gone are the days when you needed to be addressed as sir. You needed to be uh, you know given that aura of respect. That colonial system has changed a lot. Okay, uh, things have changed drastically over over the years. This is no more a colonial administrative system here. Uh, so you need to be more interactive, more accessible to the citizens. And when a citizen chooses to address you as a brother, it is a sign that you have managed to break that barrier which has been kind of holding you back from the citizen. So that barrier needs to go down, isn't it? That's quite natural. So you are actually happy that people are finding that freedom to address you. What's the big deal? You should be actually happy, isn't it? uh, so I don't find any ego in that when someone doesn't address you as sir. See, let me also put it this way. While I was taking care of certain World Bank projects, that was uh, during the initial phase of my career. I had done two World Bank projects. So at that time, you tend to interact a lot with the World Bank officials, especially the American way of doing business. Um, so where you find that people address you by your first name, you are not really upset with that, and it doesn't really matter. How does it make a difference whether you address as sir or whatever? Uh, First name is fine. This has to be accepted. That change has to come obviously. So just a second, I'll go through a couple of questions. Yeah. So you need not feel upset that you are not being given that kind of a respect. More than respect, what you should value is love. And if someone finds that freedom to address you as brother, I think there is a lot of love in that. So just let's be positive about it. That's all I'll say. The third question is, in your opinion, what are the flaws associated with grassroots bureaucracy in India? What immediate reforms should be brought to achieve the desired goals of bureaucracy in India? It's a big question. It's a huge question. Well, what do I say? Uh, you know, Grassroots bureaucracy is something different from higher civil service. Uh, if you look at the other countries and other places, you will find that there's a lot of hire and fire, and at the same time, there is a bit of fairness, which comes along with the maturation of the society. In India, unfortunately, there is a lot of politicization and perhaps a lot of, shall I say, unprofessional attitude when it comes to the lower bureaucracy levels, unionization, all that comes in. So we are still a long way when it comes to grassroots level bureaucracy, and the quality of administration at the lower level has to improve a lot. So the flaws are generally that the local self-government bodies are not really, shall I say, mature enough. It will take quite a lot of time, I guess. Um Okay, another question that has come is, many argue that the steel frame of India, the Indian administrative service, is acting as a dragging force in the era of globalization. To what extent is it true? Well, it's a really opinionated kind of, position. Um, the Indian administrative service, if it were a dragging force, we wouldn't be here. Let me put it this way: we have these elections happening every fifth year, uh, and you know that the elections are one of the most interestingly conducted and most efficiently conducted activity. And during those times, during elections, you generally don't have so much of talk of inefficiency generally. And during elections, it might be a coincidence you don't have the politician sitting on your head. So could we argue, could we put across a counter argument that had it not been for the politicians, perhaps the Indian Administrative Service might have taken the country to another level in this era of globalization? God knows, but that's not the way to argue. Let me make it very clear. The point is that uh, the society as a whole deserves what it gets, and it gets what it deserves. So, uh, collectively, whether the society is mature enough to demand a certain level of administration, a level of sophistication, and also a movement and aggression in this era of globalization. Whether the society is actually mature enough for us, for that is the question. The Indian Administrative Service works in this context. It works in the substratum of the society. So you can't really pick it out of the society and say that okay, it is just because of the Indian administrative service. No, it doesn't work that way. So I think that's it. Um, well, I think I'll take a few live questions as well. Yeah, few of our friends are asking, what was my optional subject? My optional subject was public administration and psychology, two of these subjects. And some of you were just asking how you got the support. Okay, support for getting this community led activities which we did in the field. Yeah, well, for getting support or for getting community mobilization, what I felt was what's most important is trust. You need to generate that trust from the general public. If you don't get that trust aspect, it's very difficult. And for a bureaucrat to earn the trust, you need to take each step very slowly. And yeah, you need to have a grasp of the mass psychology. We need to understand how people respond. So yeah, it's not an easy thing, and there are lots of variables as well. Okay. Uh, the one question is Kerala has been able to manage the COVID-19 pandemic in the best possible manner. What makes the Kerala administration different, allowing it to manage the crisis in an effective manner? Well, I don't think it's a time to celebrate as yet. It's not a time to pat our backs as yet. But still, Kerala has an advantage that we have a top class health infrastructure already in position. So that's a big advantage. You have the best nurses, the best doctors available, and the education level being high. It's easy to convey messages. It's easy to make awareness spread with the highest penetration of mobile phones, social media, even newspaper, per capita, the purchase of newspaper reading habit. These are all on the higher side. So it's very easy to spread awareness messages. So obviously we have a huge advantage. Okay. And second thing, Kerala administration is slightly different because because of the awareness of the people are quite aware of their rights, so they are very demanding as well. So there's a lot of litigation. People are quite aggressive about about the rights. So the bureaucracy has to be very careful while addressing the general public. So in a way, the administrative setup in Kerala is attuned to the future possibilities. Perhaps I'll put it this way: we are experiencing things, or the administrative system in Kerala is experiencing things which might be experienced by other states in 10, 15 years, or maybe 20 years. Uh, because the right, people are so aware of their rights. They are so demanding that, and there's no that colonial hang up is not there. So you are genuinely expected and treated like a government servant in that sense, just as you will find it in the European countries. Perhaps you're not seen as a my bab kind of thing. So that approach difference would be there. The next question here I find is when young officers enter the civil services, they are filled with idealism, but sooner or later, this idealism starts to fade away and they start thinking in terms of what their political masters want rather than what the law demands. In your opinion, what leads to such a situation and how can this be prevented? Okay, that's interesting thing. You do get mature with age and experience. Uh, Idealism, I don't know whether idealism really starts to fade away. It's just that realism steps in and tempers the possible. You get a realistic idea of what's possible, what's not possible. It's not that your idealism is getting washed away. It's that you get smarter. Perhaps you become more effective as well, more efficient as well. So you get to learn how to pick the battles. Not all battles are worth sacrificing yourself. So as you get mature, these very ideal officials, these ideal officers, perhaps become smarter. That's the way I would put it. Yeah. I'll just go to the next question. Well, Kerala is a state that exhibits the strongest level of grassroots democracy. Can you please tell us how political empowerment of the people at the local level helps in transforming their socio-economic condition? I think everything starts from education and uh, health. If you make sure that the people at the grassroots level, they get proper education, they are given um, awareness, they are given the right to determine things for themselves, naturally this grassroots democracy becomes more impactful. uh, they would exercise their rights, their choices. They would be quite vocal, so that difference would be there. So I don't think it was a design approach which worked in Kerala. It's more of evolutionary thing that has happened. So the socioeconomic condition within Kerala, when you say that, when have an opinion that it's improved quite a lot, it has to boil down to education, and that education that resulted in demand for more democratization at the field level. If you look at the Western countries where there is a lot of grassroots democracy, uh, you'll find the same parallels. Because people are aware of their rights, they tend to assert themselves. So you don't leave it to bureaucrats, you don't leave it to even top heavy, government machinery, not even the elected machinery at the top. In the US, for instance, when you find this debate happening, every time you have a debate with the president, with the governor, and the mayor, mayor is ultimately a local self-government, but the mayor is quite powerful. Same way with the counties are quite powerful. The villages, they are quite powerful. Um, that difference would be there whenever there is awareness, whenever there is empowerment. You'll find that difference. Okay, there's another question which says, you once said that the greatest obstacle in the way of fulfilling one's potential is hunger. How do you see the present situation of hunger-led deaths among the migrant laborers caused due to the COVID-19 situation? Yes, I always keep telling that hunger is the is the most important thing which we tend to ignore. We take it for granted that no one is hungry. We have enough food production. We have everything under control, but we don't recognize that there is a lot of silent hunger. There is there are a lot of people who don't exhibit their hunger. People who don't exhibit their poverty. Uh, it's kind of invisible. And the tolerance level of Indians is immense. Just because people don't go around saying that they are hungry, it doesn't mean that hunger isn't there. Hunger is a serious issue. When we started this Operation Sulaimani project in Kozhikode, we discovered that despite Kozhikode being one of the richest, most prosperous places, uh, like hunger was there. It was a kind of a hidden hunger, I'll say. Okay. uh, and what does hunger do? Hunger actually makes you incapacitated. Your priority immediately becomes hunger. How does that actually affect you? It is a very serious problem. uh, Let me put it this way. If you go to a European country, say perhaps like France or Germany or any of those countries, you'll find that your basic facilities are taken care. Okay. uh, you won't be left hungry. You won't be kept wanting for education. You'll have social security. Okay, the basic things are taken care of. So you are not worried about the next meal. If you don't have job, perhaps you lose your job, you have the social security system that takes care of you until you find the next job. So this cushioning is very important. When you get this cushion, what makes the difference is you have a freedom to evolve. You have a freedom to think further. You think beyond hunger. You think beyond the next square meal. So a potential Einstein, a potential Edison, who is there in, say, a small village in UP, a potential Einstein, someone who is really smart, a child, he would be thinking, or his parents would be thinking of the next meal. कल क्या खाएंगे? I mean, दोपहर को क्या खाएंगे? That's the idea. Now just think of it. Um, a similar child in a European country where the social security side is well taken care, he would be thinking of his dreams. He would be thinking, what will I become? What will I do research on? What will I become when I become a grown up man? What will I go for? Higher studies. And these are the things that populate his brain. And here, someone who is hungry, he'll be only worried about the next meal. think of it, how incapacitating this hunger is. That is why I keep telling that the greatest obstacle is, uh, you know, that we are not even able to take care of hunger, right? Uh, yeah, I'll just take a couple of hungry people are not able to think. Obviously, I mean, okay, a few questions on tackling the civil service exam, and also uh, I think it's about public administration. Okay, our opinions are on the scoring capability of public administration. Let me put it this: don't get bogged down. Don't get worried about the scoring capacity of each subject. That's a, people keep telling these things. You don't need to buy any of those stories. You just look at this simple point. Are you excited by the optional subject? Okay. uh, will you be able to spend 1 or 2 years, dedicate 1 or 2 years with the subject? It's like a short-term marriage in a way. I mean, will you be able to tolerate that subject? If you are unable to tolerate public administration, there is no point getting married to public administration for 2 3 years. It doesn't help you. If you are unable to tolerate psychology, if you are unable to tolerate any other subject, whatever is the subject, you need to have that passion and that connect with that subject. Don't choose an optional subject just because it's taken by your friend, just because you feel that it is scoring, just because somebody says that it's easy. Don't do that. You have to like that subject. Second thing, be a bit smart. You think of yourself. You think where you're positioned. Okay, someone who has done engineering, someone who has done medicine, someone who has done law. Each one is having his own standing. Now he has to assess the position where he is standing, and the standard that the civil service examination demands of him. Now you'll be able to understand the gap. Each one will have a separate gap. Now, since I have done law, my graduation was in law. My gap when it comes to Indian polity or constitution would be different from my friend who has done, say, engineering. He will have to put in more effort when it comes to the constitution and all those areas. So it's very unique and very individual for each person. So you'll have to do your own homework. You cannot just say that isne aisa bola hai, so I'm going to do that. That doesn't work that way. uh, Something that works for your friend need not work for you. So choosing the optional subject is very important, and you have to make a unique and individual decision for yourself. By doing what? You have to check up the previous question papers, you have to check up the syllabus, and then arrive at a informed decision for yourself. I'll have to put in such and such effort to reach at this level. Will I be able to make it? And what are the optional subjects that help me make it? Suppose you are an engineering graduate. Perhaps taking public administration might be useful, because think of it this way: you'll anyway have to study for Indian polity, and you'll have to cover constitution over all these areas for the GS papers anyway. So maybe taking public administration would help you in that sense. Now, I'm just giving ideas. It's not an absolute theory. So that's the point. And a couple of questions asking how many hours did I study and all that stuff. Again, let me make it very clear. The number of hours you put in is totally irrelevant. It really doesn't make any difference, and it will be different for different people. You don't go by the general stuff saying that you have to study for such and such hours. You will have to study for so many hours. It doesn't work that way. Uh, as I mentioned, you will have a unique decision which you have to take for yourself, depending on your positioning. As you grow older, you will be forgetting what you studied in +2 level, your NCRT books. You might have forgotten a lot of stuff, so you'll have to refresh. How much of it you're able to recollect is one crucial point. There are many 12 standard guys who are just messaging me. uh, you know they also need to keep in mind that whatever you're studying right now, it's not to be forgotten. You have to keep your not just your books safely, but you also have to keep the memory safe. So as you move farther from your 12th and also graduation, you start forgetting things. You tend to forget. So you try to keep these things as fresh as possible, so that original hard work and revision is avoided. Now, Shreyas asked me how BA LLB is good. Yes, BA LLB is a very good strategy when you are planning for taking a degree. Law is a really good optional, not just optional, as a graduation subject also is really good. That's why I took that. It need not work for everyone. It's I told you, it's a very unique decision for each and every individual person. But I found that to be a very good strategy, because law means, especially if it's a 5-year law course, the initial years you will be studying a bit of sociology, a bit of history, all the basic stuff, a bit of economics. These are the things which you study as a law graduate in the initial 2-3 years. And then you also have that capacity, the ability, or a slightly better footing when it comes to constitutional law. All these points help you while you prepare for the GS paper, and also maybe a couple of optional subjects are also easy when it comes to this. Okay, mathematics good for BTech? Yeah, I mean, depends. Mathematics, geography, these are all supposed to be decent optional for these BTech students. Lots of BTech students are nowadays coming to the civil service. So when you choose an optional, you should think of it as a strategy to reduce your work. Your workload should be coming down. Second, you should also try to find parallel with the general studies papers. Obviously, this is the common sense approach which you take. So it should not be like I'll focus only on reducing my work. Suppose you did medicine, so you can take medicine as an optional subject. You could also take anthropology. You could take something else, a completely different. Okay, in which case the parallel between the optional subject and your graduation subject, that helps you cut down work. There is also possibility of overlap between the optional subject and the GS papers. Now, which of this will be more helpful for you? This is the key question. Okay. Next question I'll just take. Okay, what is your literature? I mean, many people do take literature, economics. Yes, those are good optional. But as I said, it's very individual. You'll have to work on your own competence and then take a decision. The questions are going very fast. I'm really sorry. I'm not even able to read the questions. Okay, how to prepare for them? BSc graduate. No. Seriously, I'm unable to even read the questions. The pace at which the questions are going. What are the resources? Okay. Well, resources. You just need to be smart enough to look around and find what are the good resources. Don't go by just a conventional idea of, I have to look up the original reference textbook, all the mota wala books. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to be smart. You have to be really street smart if you want to play the civil services with a minimum energy and minimum effort. That's smart. You don't get any special medal for putting in a lot of effort. You don't get any special award for spending a lot of sleepless nights. What you ultimately get is you get selected if you write the answers properly. That's it. For that, you have to be smart. How do you be smart? By reducing unnecessary work, by cutting down on unnecessary work. So you have to go through the previous question papers and syllabus to understand the framework of the exam, first of all, and then optimize the time which you are going to spend. And also be a bit smart when it comes to selecting the study materials. There are a lot of study materials are available, but there are certain materials which are not seen as study materials. Even comics. I mean, I used to refer to a lot of comics for understanding ancient India, for instance. When you look at this Chitragada type, Tinkle type publications, you think that is silly, but it's not that silly. Okay, I used to have a huge collection of that. Once you read those stories, you never forget. You have that picture etched in your mind. So you just need to fill in a few more facts or the dates or names. Rest of the things, the whole story is very clearly etched in your mind, so you don't lose out. Okay, how to stay motivated? Yeah, that's a crucial point. as I keep telling, being motivated for the civil service examination is the most important thing. Lots of exams are there. Lots of exams are there, and what keeps the civil service unique, or what makes it different, is that the exam is spread out. It is not a one-off thing. You just don't go one day and write the exam and come back. It doesn't finish off. Unlike the say entrance exam type. No, it's not like that. This is a long drawn affair. Okay, and it's a psychological game, as I always keep telling. You have to crack this psychologically. Okay, you have to have the psychological upper hand for yourself first of all. For that, you need to know the subject, and you should know the exam first. Before you study for the exam, you have to study the exam. How many people really understand the exam? The civil services exam is also pretty complicated. The UPS has managed to make it a bit complicated. Um, so you sometimes don't even understand the exam, and you start studying for the exam. That's so senseless. You have to clearly understand how the exam structure is made, the syllabus, what type of questions are asked in which paper. You should have absolute clarity with regard to that. Unless you understand the exam, there's no point studying for the exam. Okay, now the final thing what I would say is, when you start studying, when you start preparing for the civil services, life doesn't come to a stop. There are lots of other things happening in your life parallelly. Okay, lots of things happening. You'll have your own issues in your life. There'll be family issues. There'll be lots of stuff happening. It doesn't come to a standstill. You might fall in love. You might actually have a breakup. A lot of things happen, and still you have to remain focused on the exam. You have to keep pushing for that. And it doesn't stop with the prelims. You have the mains. You will have the interview. All these things are there. So you have to remain focused, which is purely a psychological game. Oh, I'll just take the. It's almost 30 minutes. I'm over time, so I'll just take the last question. Last question is, what is the message for future civil servants? What are the most important attributes that they must possess? Okay. Well, I don't think there's much of a message to be given, but one thing I'll say is, come to the civil services, because the civil services still offers you the biggest canvas which can give you an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people around you. And also, if you look at it purely from your career perspective, um, where in the world will you get an opportunity to lead such important, responsible positions, be in such magnitude, make things happen at such magnitude at this particular young age? You will not get it anywhere. Even in the private sector is good. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but in private sector, to arrive at that level of leadership levels, it takes years. Unless you are a very young guy who has made it really big in a startup. But otherwise, no, generally speaking, it's not easy to get that kind of a canvas to make a difference in the lives of people. And secondly, that authority and position which gives you the legal mandate to make a difference, that is also very huge. So considering that, I think the civil service continues to be one of those unique options which in career which makes you stand out, if you really want to stand out and make a difference. And then there are the other options in your life are always open even after you come into the civil service. Don't think that the civil service cuts down or shorts or closes any of those options. Those are still there. You will be in a position to live your life to the fullest extent possible even after you come into the civil service. Don't have any misconceptions. The important attribute, I'll just say, you should have a lot of compassion, you should have a lot of empathy, you should have a mind to serve people. And I'm not saying selfless service or anything, but you should have a lot of compassion. And every decision, every file which comes to you, it is the life of somebody. So every decision you make and every indecision you make, it has a lot of impact. So I think compassion is very crucial. I think I've overshooted my time. I'll just thank you everyone for bearing such a boring talk, because at the end of the day, it becomes one-way affair because there's nobody asking from there. I'm just reading and going on and on and on. So thank you so much. Let me wish that all of you are able to crack this exam and make it. And let me really assure you, it's not as pessimistic as it is made out in the media. Come over this side. You come to this side, be part of the system, and then try to make a difference. And trust me, it is worth it. And you will definitely enjoy it once you're inside the service and you're in a position to make a difference. It's so easy to sit outside the system and keep grumbling. Come over here and make a difference. Thank you, guys. Okay. I hope it was fruitful for you in some sense. Bye. Thank you.